Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast where I ask my guests why did the comedian cross the road, as we attempt to find out what comedy means to the people at its heart. Each of my guests puts the show in show business and the business in funny business. But although it's often funny, is it all business or is it all show? I'm the comedy nerd who's seen over 1,600 comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. If you'd like to hear from comedians even half as much as I do, then please like, subscribe, rate, review and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is a scientist, a lawyer, an actor, a writer and a comedian, but she's probably best known through the millions of views of her TikTok and Instagram reels. Once marked out by The Telegraph as one of the top 5 young sketch comedians to watch, it's Davina Bentley. Was comedy a big influence on you growing up?
Yeah, so much, but I didn't know that wasn't normal. So I didn't till I got to uni. Like, I thought every family had 2 funny parents, really funny siblings, and that you all were just really big into comedy. I kind of just thought that was maybe standard. And then when I got to uni, I remember a boy went, "My parents are incredibly funny. They're 2 really fun." And I thought, oh, I just thought that was a given. You know, and like watching Eddie Murphy, me and my brother we'd watch Eddie Izzard, and then when I got to uni I got big into Eddie Murphy. But my brother and I would talk in Eddie Izzard quotes, and then my other brother we talk in Stella Street quotes,
right?
So it kind of permeated our house.
But you didn't study dramatic arts or would let you?
It wouldn't let me. It wouldn't let me. Honestly, it would be. There was like a running joke in my family that the day my father died, my sister and I would be at the door of RADA, like banging, like, we're ready to audition. It's like a semi-joke, but it's not. Like, it was never an option for me. My parents wouldn't have let me, but you know, I was a tree in the school play. But what a fucking tree!
The best tree in your row.
I actually wasn't. My friend Amelia was a better tree, but I was like the second best tree. She played an ash. I think I was an elm. It's quite a painful memory, but yeah, no.
It's an important distinction. We could only afford 1 tree in my school.
We were very lucky. We were lousy with trees. We were very privileged.
So what was it then that made you think of comedy as something that you wanted to do for yourself?
I think I'd always wanted to. I'd kind of talked about it, not really done anything.
Yeah.
Like, I did a sketch show in Edinburgh when I was 23 with some friends, and I didn't really think it was something for someone like me. I sort of thought it was just off the table. And then a boyfriend bought me a comedy course, which was kind. And at the end of that course, I loved the course, it was brilliant. And at the end, you do a showcase, and I loved the showcase, and I didn't kind of maybe realize that I'd done well. And that, you know, and I think I was immediately maybe the teacher offered me a paid gig, which was so kind. But at the time, I didn't know that was like a thing. But I loved it, you know, and I loved it. Actually, I did. Yeah, I remember thinking, actually, I did want to do it in uni, but I didn't have the balls. I wrote a set, but I never did it.
Right.
So.
You said you did a sketch bit.
I did a sketch show.
But you were learning about, this was a stand-up course then, presumably.
Yeah, so my sketch show I did when I was like 23 because I don't know why, I just had a document. I just had loads of sketches I'd written. So when my friend who was studying drama and English at Manchester was like, oh, I've got this, like, you know, there's this production company thing. Do you want to like jump on? We could do a sketch show.
Right.
My 3 best mates from school. It wasn't like I was like, oh no, I was like ready to go. I was like, here are the sketches. And to be honest, looking back, they were fucking good. They were like, but I didn't, because we worked really hard on them. My 3 friends were so clever and funny. The ones that were shit, they made clever and funny. And there was a really, like, in our troupe, there was a really successful sketch group, which I didn't know because I'm not in that world, or I wasn't. And they were so nice about our stuff. But I should have then just been like, oh, you know, you like this, maybe do something with that. But yeah, so I suppose that's like the route into stand-up.
Yeah. So do you remember your first stand-up gig?
Are we excluding comedy showcases, or are we including them?
Well, it's whichever sticks out in your mind the most, I suppose.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was Kate Smurthwaite's gig. Kate Smurthwaite taught a comedy course, and I did it, and then I did the advanced one, and it was just brilliant. It was So much fun. Everyone was so nice. There were loads of really talented people on the course.
Yeah.
And I know that's not real life. Like Ali Wong in her book talks about, don't get the wrong end of the stick. You'll do those gigs and you'll think you're a rock star. You're not. You need to play a shit room.
Yeah.
But they were so nice. And then I did really early. I did Leicester Square, got through to the quarters on, I think, my 8th ever gig.
Mm-hmm.
And that was amazing. And then when I got to the quarters and saw everyone was so good, I was like, oh, like people were doing like brilliant pullback and reveals. I didn't even know what that fucking was. So I was at that point so out of my league. But yeah, those were the early days.
But you did a few competitions, didn't you? I think that Leicester Square, that was 2018, was that?
Yeah, that was a few years later. It took me 2 more years to get there.
Right. But Funny Women marked you out as one to watch in 2018.
Yeah, they did. But like, I never got kind of understand where I think I hadn't even done a heat. I think you just look at a thing and it's like, all right, one to watch. But I don't know quite what that means. Like, it's not a...
Maybe they saw something in you that you hadn't seen yet for yourself.
No, sorry. I mean, I hadn't made it to a semi-final. I hadn't made it to a quarter-final. Do you know what I mean? It's just, we're watching you.
Yeah.
It's sort of, it was okay. We're watching you, but to what end? For what? One to watch for what?
Yeah, well,
I forgot about that. Yeah, okay, I'll take it. I won't. I'm being mean.
Don't put it down. It's on the CV, so you know.
Right, it is. Is it on the CV?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, I'll take it.
Take it, yeah. Hey, any kind of accreditation is hard to come by.
I'll take it.
So.
Yeah, man.
But you were also a shortlisted, I think, for the Funny Women Award like a couple of years later.
Yeah, see, that's what, again, I'm not trying to be difficult, but I was so excited. Like, I read Heat magazine, which my cousin worked for. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember, maybe somebody messaged me like, oh my God, you've got in Heat. And it was like this tiny little box. And I think it was like their online awards. And I was so excited. And it was like, you can nominate people like, and lots of really funny online people. Over the moon. Yeah. Bought lots of heats. And then nothing happened. So I guess I wasn't even nominated. So I think I emailed being like, can I use this? Is this anything? But it wasn't actually anything.
Right.
Are you looking at, can you let me know the things that I've been nominated for? What does it say? I'm going to write it down.
I will send you it.
Thank you, because it sounds like you know more than me. And to be honest, this sounds great. I didn't realize. Well, I didn't even realize I was shortlisted.
Well, I'm very pleased to make you happy.
You know what? That's actually genuinely really helpful. Thank you. Fucking hell.
I didn't think I would be telling you your list of achievements. I thought it would be more the other way around.
What else have I got? Have I got like a Welsh BAFTA? Tell me what else I have.
Well, given what we've just been talking about, then how do you feel about competitions in general?
I think it's really hard. I'm looking at my like younger friends, like my incredible friend Maya Tassolini, who's just like the most brilliant comic. She just got to the final of BBC, which I think I am allowed to say that, and I'm so proud of her. And she's done it without an agent, but I'm so skeptical. You know, initially when we were talking about it, you know, in terms of the pep talk, I was just like, you know, you're brilliant irrespective of whether or not you get to the final of this. Your brilliant set is the same. So, and I know it's so hard because you really want that external validation. I've never got through to a BBC even heat, let alone a quarter or whatever, or a final. So I think also, you know, you've got to be a little skeptical, don't you? You've got to worry that sometimes your dreams are making people rich, which is my other concern. But then there's people who've been brilliant to me, like David Hardcastle. I probably wouldn't be a stand-up if David Hardcastle hadn't been like, shut up, Davina, just keep on gigging. Okay, you've had a shit 2 weeks. Have a little moan and get back on it. So
yeah, that does sound like him. Yeah.
In that respect, that was verbatim, to be clear. But that's helpful because of the way Dave is. You know, I didn't get in the final the first year. He was like, you're not ready. You would have fucking died next year. Like, he always made me work for it. And then like my friend Adam and I think we came second in Sketch Off, which I love because, like, you know, I'm like the Delightful Sausage, so many amazing people. Yeah. So actually, I suppose it's so cheesy. It's actually the people that you meet doing the competitions. It's not that you have Leicester Square finalist on your CV. It's that you will always then have a gig on a Monday with David Hardcastle, or you will then meet Adam Flut. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's that. Yeah. Or you'll always be like, oh, you know, I love Ali Woods. He was the year above when he did his, or, oh yeah, she did it the year after me. It's sort of more like your classes, I think.
Yeah. Do you see it going in as like, I mean, you've alluded to it a little bit, but it's not really a competition. It's more just like another gig, and it's an opportunity to sort of rub shoulders with other comedians.
I think so. And also like it's cheesy, but also make like really good friends, because when you're that was part of why I like sketch off. I didn't really
Yeah.
know sketch people, but me and Adam doing our thing, which was called Dregs, we suddenly sort of made friends with such lovely, like really talented sketch people who I wouldn't really have known from the circuit because they're more separate, they're more alternative.
Yeah.
So you're having a bit of a bondy, stressy experience because you're like, oh God, I want to make the final. And all of that's lovely. So then I think that is important, but none of that is, about industry or about getting, that's just about like meeting cool comics you like.
Yeah.
That's the God, I sound so cheesy. I'm so embarrassed. Sorry. But it is, I think I was thinking about like a comic who I shan't name, but I was emceeing Leicester Square.
Yeah.
He didn't get through. And I think he was upset because he was very motivated and he was admittedly talented. Through his own work, he has succeeded to such a high extent that he has left the world of competitions, I would argue, like dust in his rearview mirror. So props, Matt. Like that is fucking making your own luck.
Yeah.
So props to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, similarly then, how about your festival experience, like the Fringe, for example? Because again, that's competitive in the sense that you have thousands of shows to compete for people's attention with your own, but also it's a great opportunity to rub shoulders with the many other comedians that you might not other see for months at a time. How has your festival experience been as a whole?
I think they're either brilliant or ghastly. I think my last one was, I mean, but it can be incredible. I've had I did a split bill with Maggie Kowalski, who was this great Polish comic. It's like a real like one-liner parasidokian, just like word person. That was so much fun. I think it was 2019. That was great. But I think maybe, a month is a long time. And it can be amazing. It can also be exhausting. Did you see the Stevie Martin and Lola Maxwell? Did you see their sketch they did about the Fringe?
No, I don't think so.
It's like, I'll send it to you. It's like the best thing I've ever seen, and it's all I can think about. It just summarizes a friend who's at the Fringe and a mate who's not at the Fringe. He's like, whatever, back in London. And there's just a bit where Stevie Martin goes, I've got 3 honks in Hong Kong. I don't want to talk about it. And it's like devastating, and she's using it's like my friend and I just watched it on loop. It's the best summary of Fringe.
Yeah.
Because it's we are crying. You are crying over 3 honks from Hong Kong because it feels like the end of the world. But it does. Like, I'm laughing at it and I'm at it. And I wouldn't even be able to get, I think it can be really hard, but it's so cheesy. Again, it can be really amazing. Like people rally around you when you need them.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. I think I've been a really shit friend to other comics, and I've been a good friend to people at Edinburgh. And it's all, it's, I was about to say it feels like the trenches, but it's not the fucking trenches. It's fucking Edinburgh,
Yeah.
But I think I've been thinking about going next year I haven't actually debuted, which is ridiculous, but I will only debut if I have something I love.
Yeah.
And I have like support in the form of PR or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we've talked a little bit about you doing sketch. We've talked a little bit about you doing stand-up. Now, I know you principally as a stand-up comic. I saw your show Never Again 2. I saw you at Fulham Comedy Club. I saw you last month at Angel.
Yeah, that's great.
But obviously, you've had a lot of success online on the reels and things with countless views. What's your comfort zone? Are you happier doing stand-up or writing or performing online sketch material? Where do you find yourself happiest?
Actually, I love stand-up.
Yeah.
Like tonight I'm doing a gig. I'm looking forward to have been all week. Like I love it.
Yeah.
I think doing like people who are like just working on that show, that 1 hour and then touring it.
Yeah.
I've never done it. I don't know if it's for me. Also, just logistically as a girl, it is just, if there's some gig in fucking blah, blah, I find that it is just harder. That being dropped off at Swindon for the last train or whatever at 11, quite a big payout, but then a good gig is the best thing ever. But I think in sketch, whereas I think like Freya, I know thinks in stand up. Oh, actually, I think she thinks in both. But you like attune your mind. So when I'm really like in sketch mode, I'm like, is that sketch? Is that a sketch? Wait, that's a sketch. And then you have to like retune it for stand up. But at the moment, my whole notes app is probably 70 or 80% sketch ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's only 20% stand-up bits.
Yeah.
But they are transferable. That's the other thing. Like, I've started doing bits online that really transfer to stand-up, which is great because, you know, less work. But I think my favorite thing, to be honest, is I love character comedy and I love sketch. Like, but then did you watch Katie Norris's show?
Palm Fatale, her new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, I saw that and was like, oh, I can't do stand. There's no point. Do you know what I mean? Genuinely, I saw it and was just like, I'm out. Like, I can't. That's what, because to me, it sort of was, it was so much broader, not just because singing, it was broader than straight stand up. So I like, maybe my sketch is more like reflective of the kind of the person I am. My stand up is probably less reflective of me. So that's something I need to fix.
Right.
Whereas I would get a comic like Katie Norris or like, you know, other people who are brilliant, their stand-up is really like authentic. My stand-up is not true me.
Yeah. I can recommend lots of terrible stand-up shows that will help motivate you.
Yeah, it's just that thing, you know, sometimes, like the first time I saw Rasheen and Kiara, I was just like, I will never go on a stage again because I have seen gods. I was just like, if I can't do that, there's no point. Like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. My stuff, I'm embarrassed to be alive. But yeah, you should probably still give it a go. Yeah. And it's lovely.
Do you get nervous when you perform?
Yeah, but the good nervous. I get that lovely wave just before, which I do really enjoy riding.
Yeah.
I love that. It is really fun. And also that thing of trying a new bit. And then when you always joke, I can't remember if it's Thor who said this, it's like, you've got a new bit and you're like, oh my God, everything's going to change. This new bit, they're going to carry me out the room and then you do it. And you're like, I thought that was the best bit of writing I've ever done. So that expectation. And then like I had a bit that I thought was maybe just like a bit arrogant or a bit rude. And the first time I did it at Vauxhall, they fucking loved it. And now it's like my best new bit. And I was like, I thought that was just me. It's obviously a thing. Great. And then I'm like, I'm madly in love with stand-up again. But the idea of doing an hour of stand-up, that idea just to make me go like, you know, whereas the idea of doing an hour of character comedy and me doing like sketch characters, way more excited about. Yeah. I think.
That's interesting. This is something that's come up a lot of times. Now, I ask people about how much of them we see on stage and how much is them playing a character. Do you see yourself, if you're performing stand-up, that you're playing a character of you, that it's not you necessarily, but it's a role that you're playing?
Yeah, but I think it is. And it's actually not really like, it's a version of me, but it's not really me. And I think the closer I could get it to me, the better my stand-up would be.
Right.
Yeah, probably. That's right.
Yeah.
But not in an authentic way. Like I did, do you know Amanda Baker, the director, and Abby Grant? They're like these brilliant, like Abby's a writer, Amanda's director. I did their course and like, you know, probably for me to be like the best stand-up I could be, it would involve a huge amount of reflection. And I don't know if I want to stare into that, you know, cavernous pit of hell. So, you know, it's not too hard to do a good 10 club set. I mean, I also love it. Like I love, and I do remember like last week I did Vauxhall on Friday. Eleanor Conway was emceeing and I love her. Just sometimes like you remember actually your stuff is good because a new person's seeing it and then you're seeing it through their eyes. You're like, oh yeah, it's good. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Do you record and watch yourself back to see how?
I know you're meant to. Okay. It's hard enough to do a sketch and not want to just like because also you're so judged for being a woman anyway. Right. As Fro and I found out from our recent sketch online, which had the most disgusting misogynistic comments you've ever read. But it was okay. We wrote to people's wives. It's hard to look back at yourself. But you know, you've got to like get over the vanity. Yeah. And just, it's not about what you look like. It's about the thing that you're saying. Obviously, we take people in as a whole image. Right. But yeah, watching gigs back, I'm trying to be more grown up about it. Like that Angel gig, I loved. I had such a good time. Yeah, really, really liked Angel recently so much. Just like such lovely crowds, great MCs, just like really sort of like loosey goosey. Oh, I'm so excited for my gig. When you have like, because I've not gigged for about 6 days, so it's always
Yeah.
just sort of quite long. Normally, I like to do a couple a week or 3.
Yeah. But do you find it different if you're doing like Angel, where it's a renowned comedy club with comedy savvy audiences?
Mm.
And if you're trying out new material, there's a lot more love in the room and a little bit less judgment. So you're able to play around with
So true.
things. Whereas if you then go out to,
Yeah, I
if
didn't
you
know
go to a
that.
provincial arts centre or something, and then everyone's sitting there with their arms folded, waiting for you to impress them, you don't have that kind of freedom.
Wiggle room.
Yeah, wiggle room. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I was quite shocked because, I want to do well at Angel. It's pro gig. You can't just do your new shit. And also that's arrogant and people have paid for tickets and it would fuck me for the future if something didn't work. But yeah, I think maybe I enjoyed it so much because I did 2 new bits and they paid off. So you're right. It's such a warm, lovely room. You can be like, do a little sandwich here.
Yeah.
As opposed to arts club or, I was about to say empty pub, but to be honest, I don't really try to avoid empty pubs. Am I doing empty pubs? Yeah, you just, like give them the gold.
Yeah.
Because it's already quite tough. Or make it about them, because often that works in a room where things are quite hard.
Yeah.
Like improv with the whatever, like MC yourself for a bit. I know some people disagree with that approach, but I don't.
This is one of the reasons why I love like the Leicester Comedy Festival, because it's so early in the season that a lot of the hours there or 45s are very, very early works. They're very, very much works in progress, but it's a comedy savvy audience. They know that and they expect that. And part of the fun is that the audience are waiting for you to play with what you've written and find out what works and what doesn't work. Whereas if you go to Edinburgh, then it's like the slaughterhouse.
Perfect exam submission. Yeah. And also when you watch like one of your favorite comics do a work in progress, it is so exciting. And then when you watch the main show, you're like, oh, they took out that whole middle bit, or like it's got a completely different ending. That's really nice. Leicester, I think 2 years ago, Adam Flood and I split. It was really fun. It was more, the drive was really funny. The drive on the way down, I went, I'm just doing 20, right? And he went, no, you're doing 45, you fucking idiot. But it was such a lovely gig. It was really fun. And then we drove home. And it was lovely. And they were really comedy savvy. And we had a really nice burger because there was like all those sort of food carts. I'm in this game for the food carts, so
quite right. Another element of your reels is collaboration.
Yes.
Characters like Biggs and Hebrides that you do with podcast alumnus Freya Mallard, of course, as well as other collaborations. Are you big on the collaborative nature of what you do?
I am, and I love doing stuff with like Freya or again my friend Maya and Adam Maya Tassolini or Adam Flood. But actually, I've realised, except for Freya, because obviously I know her very well, and my friend Rosie Holt, we just did a we did a parody. Those are like people I'm really close with. I think I'm probably impossible to collaborate with, even for them. Like I'm like not so great. This may shock you, but like Freya made a really good note, and my initial response was like, I don't agree. And then a few days later, I was like, oh, it was the right note. But that stuff is quite hard because ultimately it's fucking objective, and like, she always does this. Like Freya will always say, take out that line I say. She said it to me yesterday. She's like, oh, that line's superfluous. I'm like, you are so funny. I'm not taking it out. And then I'll do the same where I'm like, and maybe it is a female thing where I'll be like, get rid of that. And she's like, no, I love it's so funny, the thing you just said. But those are just 2 shit notes. Like we should have just. So actually, sometimes I do think, like I did a Resta's politics parody last week, and I'm meant to be recording a Resta's history parody 2 today. Don't know if I probably won't get them out to next week, but in that way it's easier because I've got no one to agree anything by. It takes like 100 times longer. Also, like somebody might not agree with my view on the Resta's history, like way that I have written it. It's also like very specific, and it's quite stupid. So it's quite a big buy-in to get your friend to go along with that. It's always really fun filming with friends because, like in Binks and Hebrides, like when Rosie came on and played an artist, Rosie Holt, all our eyes were red because we were crying so much from laughing. So by the end, it looks really incongruous. We've all just got red, really wet eyes, because we've been giggling for 2 hours, obviously.
Yeah.
So that's obviously really fun.
Yeah. Well, what about writing? Because obviously you're writing sketches. You've got other writing credits like things for like the news quiz and what have you.
Dead ringers.
Dead Ringers, for example.
Please use other door. Yes. Yeah.
But if you're writing for other people, you've
Mm.
got to write their comedy in their voice.
Yeah.
How do you distinguish that from your own? And what about where you write something, you go, oh, that's funny, I'll keep that, or you write something for yourself, but it's just something that you would never say. So
Yeah. So that's like the funnest. So like to say topical writing, say for Dead Ringers,
yeah,
like love, love, love. So much fun.
hmm
Writing in another comic's voice, yeah, slightly different, but ultimately it's such a good skill. I love trying, like I did the NFTS comedy writing diploma, and we had to write in the voice of, I think, Luke McQueen, and then he'd read. But
mm.
it's like, it's such a good skill. Also, more like those things were topical. So say news quiz and now show, they're mostly topical,
hmm
primarily.
yeah,
And then, yeah, you're writing in someone else's voice, but that in itself is really fun, especially if you love their voice.
mm.
And then for Dead Ringers, it's an out and out sketch. So super, really happy, love that. And
hmm
everyone was really brilliant. But my favorite thing is what I'm trying to do at the moment is long form writing. So I had a script with someone, which I guess you could say was early development up till recently. I have someone else, same production company, are awaiting another script, and another one is awaiting a treatment.
hmm
Keep waiting. No, I'm going to write them. No, it's on the list. But yeah, it's long. I love long form writing. I've just spent 2 years writing my first sitcom,
hmm
and it's the best thing I've ever done. So whether or not I don't really believe in things getting commissioned because that's never happened to anyone ever. But it's the best thing I've ever written. So I think long form, because stand like my sketches are, even probably the weird ones, they're just scenes. They're just like
Mm.
beat follows beat follows beat until the climax.
Yeah.
Not always, but often. So, and I'm also going to do a collaboration. I'm doing a collaboration with Harry Tahar, who's like a comedian but a writer,
hmm
and he did a series called Bard about barristers, which was so funny.
Mm.
And we're going to do something shortly, and they are like little scenes. They're like little scenes from something bigger. So I like that when I write sketch, it's like informing me for writing, full sitcom pilots,
Yeah.
because that's the dream, along with writing a play.
So you
You know,
you set yourself a lot of objectives.
just keep it chill.
Yeah.
Just keep it chill. Like, yeah. But I really, really like long form writing.
Yeah. Do you set targets for yourself? Do you have objectives like in 3 years this, in 5 years that?
I meant to. I have not, because the idea of the future I find so terrifying. But I do believe in small tasks. So I do have tasks for. I'm currently at, I think, 10 sketches this month. I'd like to have done 15, probably land at 12.
Mm.
So that kind of, Tim Minchin talks about small tasks. And I'm just not a person I don't have natural foresight. I just need to keep it. Because also anything good that's ever happened to me in comedy has only been from doing small tasks that appeased me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like the first Radio 4 thing I wrote for was not from doing BBC comedy or anything. It was just having done my sketches online because I thought they were funny, and it was lockdown.
Yeah.
And then my friend who's really funny saying, do you want to write on this thing? Or I've passed your number. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't really believe in the, like man plans, God laughs. I'm such a believer of that. So what's the point of saying in 5 years
Yeah.
in 5 years we'll all be, subject to our alien overlords? There's just no point. So we won't have stand up.
Not as we know it.
Not as we know, exactly. It'll be a whole new genre because it will be much more, actually much better, but very complex under these aliens.
Be more lizard oriented, I imagine.
More lizard orientated,
Yeah.
but they're quite sensitive.
Yeah. So you mentioned lockdown. So where performing live was cut off for such a significant period of time, obviously there were gaps here and there. There was an opportunity to do Zoom gigs or online sketches and things like this. Was that sort of what propelled you to dive into that, more significantly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in a like really, oh, I've got a funny idea way, not in a, this is a good idea. I'm not naturally, and like I say, a long-term thinker. So it was just, this will be fun. Oh, this is a funny idea. Oh, that's quite a funny idea. More that, and just like, you know, doing impressions of the girls from Made in Chelsea. So yeah, but I suppose having the chance, having the opportunity, because work and quiet and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was that period.
Yeah. Also, you've brought up the names of a number of comedians that either that you've seen or you've worked with. Do you still watch comedy? Are you able to go and watch their shows and
Yeah.
see it dispassionately as an audience member, or do you have to watch it as a friend or as a comedian?
Okay, so if it's a comedian that I love and love their work, or a friend, then it's fine because I'm laughing at it because they're funny.
Yeah.
Because you're only friends with funny people and you love their work. So that's kind of sorted.
Yeah.
That's no problem. What is a problem is like open mic nights, or not that there aren't brilliantly talented people, because it's more worrying how talented new stand-ups are. But just like a bill where there's 300 people on and it's a bringer, and you can just, and it's not a criticism because we all do it, but just where you can see the punchline coming. And you did the same joke as well. Like you did the same when you were where they were. So you can't criticize. I just don't want to see it anymore because I feel like I've done those rooms.
Yeah.
Like I've been in them. So I wouldn't really particularly be able to enjoy that, which is very different to watching an hour of your friend at Soho or their new work in progress at Museum of Comedy or something.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. What about regional? Because playing gigs up around the country and beyond, do you find your comedy is perceived differently in different places?
Yeah, I think every time I've gone, I've been like, they're not going to like me. They have. And, you know, it's always kind of not the thing you think. You just kind of never know. Like I've gone to regional places thinking they'd hate me and they didn't. And then I've gone to rooms in London thinking they'll like me and they didn't. So actually, you can't kind of assume. Also, just because that place is in, you know, say you get booked for this place in whatever, a town, you don't know that region. Like you don't know if this is like the fancy place that the posh people go to on a Saturday. You don't know if this is like going to be really laddie, because you don't know that. So you don't really know until you walk in, or the promoter says, oh, by the way, it's actually the rugby club. So it's going to be rugby lads. And I did actually play a rugby club in South London recently. It was so much fun. The chairman of the rugby club kept heckling like really good comics, like Comedy Store comics.
Yeah.
And by the time I went on, I was just very cross. So I was it was really, really good fun. Yeah.
Well, that's another interesting point. Feedback, be it in the room or in a review or some such like that. How do you respond to that? Does it affect you? Is it easy to ignore?
I don't know if we're counting heckling as feedback.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it does. I kind of never thought of it in that. I think it can be wonderful, but it can be very frustrating. I think my issue is, you know, I think it can be very difficult when you walk into a room and you can see, you know, say like very hyper masculine, like group of boys like on a stag, because then it's just them wanting to show off to each other. So it's not about you, and their listening will be could be quite minimal.
Yeah.
And they might not like that you're a girl, so they're already quite hostile. Like if you walk into a room and the guys in the audience are already up on the mic, they're like, then you've got a problem, which happens. But then, do you know, who was saying somebody's threw in a really funny punchline? I can't remember. Sometimes there's someone makes a really funny room gag, you know, on like an audience member on something you've all like been talking about, and it's fucking hilarious. And you kind of have to be like, yeah, it's fucking great. It's a fucking great joke, Gary. You smashed it. It's obviously different to like, you know, someone shouting something misogynistic or whatever.
Yeah. What about outside of the room? Do you read things about yourself?
I've only ever had 2 reviews by Steve Bennett.
Right.
First was devastating. I was just devastated, so embarrassed, and I couldn't hear. It was sort of that I had terrible timing because I made a joke about orphans, but I couldn't hear the person before me was an orphan, and that person was a friend, and there was no tannoy play. Like I couldn't hear his, and I don't know his 5, but I made a room gag because I wanted to kind of make it light. It's not part of my set. It's just a room gag about competitions. Yeah, it was just horrible. But then my second review was kind of like, but again, it's kind of immaterial. Like, you know, sure, it's probably much harder when one gets, you know, when one spends a year on a show and then you get 3 stars from whatever, Brian Logan or Bruce DeSalle or that sort of thing, or 3 from Steve Bennett. But you know, it's their right, you know,
Yeah.
Critics exist for a reason.
Mm. Do you think that there's one important lesson that you've learned so far that perhaps you'd go back to you starting out your comedy career and let you know what that was?
Be funnier. No, I think this, I mean, it may just be because I saw this on my TikTok last night with Seth Meyers. Like, it's a long, if you want to be a comedian, it's quite a long game. So the people you're doing it with, you may have like over the years, like a very mixed relationship with them. Like you guys may like each other, you may not, and then you fall out and then you're competing with things. So just like, even if you've had a really shit day and you're exhausted, just always like keep it nice. And that kind of tolerance of, I guess, like even things like now, like, you know, chasing a friend who's a promoter saying, I have to resend the invoices and chase for money.
Yeah.
Like, I think just try and keep those frustrations low. Ironically, being frustrated, I think, is what makes you funny. So, do you know what I mean? Being like I like a kind of cross person comic.
Yeah.
But yeah, try not to be. Try to just be like, it's cool. Don't worry. Don't worry about paying me. I'm just a super chill guy. No, I'm kidding. Pay your fucking comics. I just mean like, you know, you might have to run in between gigs and, you know, just like be tolerant to that stuff because it's such a long game.
Yeah. So given that you're not a big planning for the future kind of person, what do you think is coming up for you in the next year? Is this debut hour going to happen, do you think?
I think the focus, well, I'm trying to sell my script.
Yes.
And whether that involves going through a production company or getting funding, I'm also working on 2 other treatments. And if something goes, there's another treatment as well, which people are waiting on a script for. So I think it's most likely that any sort of seeing what I do will come from those kind of long form endeavors. That's where my heart is. And I'm also pitching a parody podcast, like sketch show.
Yeah.
So I think it's more likely to be those sorts of things because those are the things I'm really excited about at the moment. And I'm joking about keep waiting for my script. It's just like that whooshing sound of the deadline going by. But yeah, like all really like exciting things. And I'm really, really loving comedy at the moment because there feels like there's just so much.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that you'll be taking sketch or stand up as your next sort of live? Is those the sort of things
For
that you want to
live,
do live? Yeah.
I think for live at the moment, it will definitely be Binks and Hebrides. They'll probably go to Edinburgh.
Right.
Because it's like the funnest and it's improv. But if I do take something to Edinburgh, it could only be for a couple of weeks, but it would be sketch based on the stuff I do online. Rather than an hour. I'm not doing a dead dad hour. Not that that's the only kind of hour, but I'm not doing a dead dad or an alive mum hour. Just because look, you can see like my, you know, excitement goes up when I talk about, you know, the idea of running around on a stage in wigs is more fun, I think, for me, maybe. I've actually never, well, yeah, there's a lot. It's all good. That's it's what's so nice about it, isn't it? Like tonight I'll do my gig. Over the weekend I'll record, hopefully, my rest is history stuff, but also some Binks and Hebrides. I need to finish my treatment, which I know is funny because it sounds like medical treatment. Yeah, just like all very exciting new things. So
yeah,
it's really cool.
So what then so far do you think have been your best and worst experiences in comedy?
I think best is the friendships we make. Best has been just like brilliant gigs, lovely friends.
Yeah.
You know, like laughing till you like possibly think you may pee your pants and you haven't even had a child. So that stuff, you know, like making funny things with your friends, like the double thing I did with Rosie Holt. You know, we came up with that on holiday watching a horror film. That stuff is great. I love that. And the worst, I think, is kind of the focus on industry stuff, which I'm now a lot better at just being like, that's okay, that's not my path. And I think it must be really hard if you're a young comic, but I think just learning to kind of not worry so much about that stuff. And it's, do you know what I mean? If you're doing a great 10, you know, does it matter that people aren't buzzing about you or all sorts of ebbs and flows, really?
Yeah.
God, I'm so zen this Friday. This is...
As I say, you've brought up a lot of names. Do you think there are people performing currently who continue to inspire you or perhaps drive you to be a better comedian even?
Like people I kind of look up going, oh my God. I think, I mean, a lot of my friends, I would say, like I saw like my friend Rosie Holt show her hour,
Yeah.
just the sort of construction of it. I was like, fuck. Like I say, you watch someone like Katie Norris, when you watch, but also it tends to be, I get that feeling more, to be honest, with really odd comics. Like like my favorite comic is Michelle Wolf, like an out and out stand up. I'm like a Michelle Wolf, love Chelsea Peretti, like Sarah Silverman, like 1 hour, balls to the wall gag, like high gag rate. But when I watch stuff that I'm like, fuck, that is it does tend to be more absurd. Like say Elf, I look at Elf, say, not that I could ever be a comic like Elf, but I do look at her and sort of, I know she's a teacher as well. I just did her course, but I am sort of inspired in terms of the things I could learn about, like being more powerful on stage, letting go on stage, not emceeing myself, like taking the sort of bigger, being more artistic, basically. Like take the hit. You might not need to make everyone laugh, but you could be like braver.
Right.
If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. How can we find out about you and where we can come and see you performing?
Well, firstly, you need to go to the internet and then you need to open a browser. I think, follow me on social media, because there is where I will post all the information. And I'm Davina Bentley Comedy on Instagram, and I'm Davina Comedy on TikTok. And I post my reels, and I post about gigs when gigs are coming up. I should do that more. Also, that's a great way for people to say, hey, Davina, here's a gig. And I can go, thank you very much. I love this gig. But yes, that's the best way. Davina Bentley Comedy.
So then I'll ask my final question, which I ask all of my guests.
Yeah.
How, Davina, would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
Comedy. Do you mean like comedy, like just because it's quite an amorphous type, like comedy as being a professional comedian, or comedy like the thing that you consume, which is like comedic media?
Yes, one of those. Everyone interprets it differently. It's however you choose to look at it, what it means to you as a career, or how you would define it in the dictionary. Or
it's not my quote, but I think it's the guy that set up the Onion. And I think he may have said it about jokes, but it was something like, jokes are the only thing, this is such poor paraphrasing, it's something, jokes are the thing that make the never-ending hellscape of life bearable. Something like that's a really good quote, but it's 100% that.
Yeah.
It's like the okay, yeah, so I'm going to still distill comedy down to jokes, because I think that's right. So it's respite from yourself. God, what potential. I actually hate myself. I'm such a dick. But it is a break when you laugh, or when you watch a brilliant comic, or record a sketch, or watch a sketch. It is a break. So that, I think.
Davina, thank you so much for being my guest. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely.